Hi, my name is Jamie, and I am presenting week 6 coding assignment for Permino Tech. In this assignment, we're supposed to make a war game. This war game has 6 classes: app, card, deck, and player. We're going to start with player and go through the code. So here's my package. Here's my imports, array list, and Java utility. Here's my public class declaration of player. These are private access modifiers and cannot be accessed outside of the class. This declares a private instance variable named hand, which is a list of card objects. This declares a private integer variable named score, used to keep track of the player's score in the game. This declares the private string variable name that is used to store the name of the player. This is a constructor that initializes a player object with an empty hand, a score of 0, and assigns the provided name to the player. This method describes a textual representation of the object by printing its name, score, and details of each card in its hand. This is the flip method. It checks if the hand is empty, and if not, removes and returns the top card from the hand. If the hand is empty, it returns null. This removes and returns the top card. The draw method tries to draw a card from the deck. The card is not null. If the card is not null, it adds to the current object's hand. This method increases the value of the score instance variable by 1 each time it's called. These are getters and setters, means of encapsulation. GetHand is a public getter method that returns a list of card objects. The setHandSetter method updates the instant variable hand with a list of card objects passed to it. The code defines a public getter method that remains the value of the score variable that returns. Getter public method that updates the score attributes of an object. Defines a getter method that returns the value of a string called variable name. This defines a setter method that updates the string name. Now we'll move on to deck. This declares the public class deck. The card fields will hold a list of card objects. The private access modifier means that this list cannot be accessed directly from outside the class. The list represents a collection of cards in a deck or hand. Part of the constructor for the deck class. Initializes an empty list to store the card objects using Java's array class. Creates standards 52 card deck. Declares it and initializes a string called suits. Declares and initializes a string called ranks. Code generates a full deck of cards by iterating over all possible combination of suits and ranks, creating a card object for each combination and adding it to the collection. Card values are 2 through 14, representing 2 ace. Creates a new card object of the class card, assigning it the variable card, and provides value and name. This is a method that shuffles the list of cards while collections shuffle. Using the collections shuffle, that's a method that randomly reorders the elements of the cards. This declares the public method draw that draws a card from the deck. This method first checks if the collection of cards is empty using the empty method. It returns true if the collection has no elements. If the collection is empty, the method returns null. This indicates that there are no cards left to draw. This code uses the remove method and returns the first element from the list, this cards. Card is the return type for the method. And here we have the card class. Here's the package. Here's the class, the public class named card, public constructor that's accessible from any class. Card is the name of the class and constructor. This creates a private integer value and string name and specifies the constructor's parameters. It is only accessible in the class. This constructor initializes a card object with a specified integer value and string name, setting the object's value and name attributes to the provided arguments. These are getters and setters. These methods are used to encapsulate the fields and provide controlled access to them. This is a public method that gets or returns the current value of the integer name value. This is a public method that sets or assigns the provided integer value to a variable named value. This is a public method, getName. It's a getter method that gets or returns the value of the name attribute. This is a public method that sets the value of the name attribute and allows other classes or objects to modify the value of the name. The public describe method outputs the name of the object to the console. And now we move on to the app class. Here's my package. This declares a public class called app. This defines the main method. This instantiates a new deck and 2 players, creates a new object of the deck class and assigns it to the variable deck. This creates a new object of the player class, passing the string player1 as an argument to the constructor, creates another player object named player2 and assigns it to the variable player. This method is used to shuffle the deck and prints to console that the deck has been shuffled. This prints to console loops through cards to deal 26 cards to each player, using the even and odd index to have player 1 or 2 draw from the deck. This prints to console that the cards have been dealt. This starts the play game with a loop that does 26 rounds. The code prints game start and round X for each round from 1 to 26 on a new line. Each player flips a card. Code declares 2 card objects and methods to flip the cards and returns a card object. This prints to console what cards the players play, displaying the cards played for each player using the describe method, prints a concatenated message of cards and players. This one compares cards and awards points, using if-else statements to get values to determine the winner. Using concatenated message, prints the name of the winning player 1, else if player 2 wins, or else if player 2, or else prints it's a tie. This prints to console the current score and concatenates the message with the player's name and score. This determines the game is over, and it prints to display game over and final results by getting player 1 or 2's score. This determines the winner by comparing which player has the highest score, creates an alternate condition if it's not player 1, else if player 2, else handles a draw, prints the winning results. And here I'm going to run this. And the deck has been shuffled, dealing cards to players. Here's my game, my rounds. And here's my game over, final score. Player 1 obviously wins. And it tells you the winner. Thank you very much for listening.